This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Let's talk about what's going on in Britain right now, because the mainstream media sure won't give it to you straight. And if you're in the UK, I know half of you are scared to even say this out loud because your government is making sure dissent comes with consequences. So I'm going to say it for you. As an American, I have the freedom to speak, I have a platform, and I've got a majority British audience that tunes in because you're hungry for the truth. And today, there are two stories that together show exactly how broken, how manipulated, how censored Britain has become. One is cultural, the return of Prince Harry, and the other is political, the appointment of Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary. Put them together, and you see a country collapsing under the weight of its own corruption, all in the name of Power and Agenda 2030. All right, folks, let's start with this circus that we know as Prince Harry, because the man never fails to light a fire in the UK. He comes back for the Well Child Awards, he makes a speech, and then he quietly goes to St. George's Chapel to honor his grandmother. On paper, it looks respectful. I guess the frustrating thing is that the media thinks that the public is stupid and forgetting what Harry and Meghan did when the Queen passed away. Now, all of a sudden, Harry's pretending to care about his family and being respectful. When the Queen was alive, a couple days before she passed away, she invited Harry and Meghan to go see her. Did they make the time? Did they respect the Queen to go see her? No. So why does the public care if Harry's going to go and pay his respects? Obviously, this is being put out there for the optics, for his PR, for his reputation, which makes him look even worse. If you really respected your granny, you would just go and do it. You don't need to tell the world your business. But he can't simply do that because he honestly thinks people care. People don't care to know about what you're doing day in, day out. You want your privacy? You can have it, Harry. Nobody is trying to pry into your life to find out what you're up to. Just stop polluting the media space, because that's exactly what you've been doing. You're polluting the media space with garbage.
But the parents often get left out of the conversation. So we're going to do as much as we can to encourage or to make it possible for these parents to go on date nights.
But the reality, the country, as well as the rest of the world, is rolling its eyes. Harry and William are both in Britain, just miles apart, yet no meeting, no reconciliation. The king is in Scotland, not even making time for his son. Or at least that's what the media is telling us. Are we supposed to believe it? Honestly, I don't believe anything that's being told to us. For all we know, Harry could have been meeting with his family this whole entire time, and we would never know, because the media is spinning a narrative that they want us to take in and go along with. But one thing is clear, and that's the whole irony in all of it. The whole world sees the dysfunction, and the British public is, quite frankly, exhausted by it. And at this point, Harry is supposed to be part of an institution that symbolizes unity, tradition, continuity. Instead, every time he shows up, he's a reminder of the fracture, drama, and weakness, which is what now we're seeing with the UK. What we see is that Harry's presence is a massive distraction, hogging headlines when the country's grappling with real crises. And it gets worse. Harry's antics feed into a broader narrative of elites getting special treatment. Which brings me straight to Starmer's baffling decision to appoint Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary. So why is Mahmood's appointment such a terrible move? You see, the Home Secretary gig is no joke. Borders, policing, national security, all at a time when the UK right now is on edge. Starmer's government is already wobbling after Angela Rayner's resignation over a tax scandal, forcing a chaotic cabinet reshuffle. Instead of picking someone who can unify the country, he goes and he taps Mahmood, a politician whose past raises serious questions. This is a woman who puts the principles of Islam in everything that she does at the forefront of her life. And she says it here in this video.
Religion, like a lot of practicing Muslims, my faith is the most important thing in my life. It is the absolute driver of everything that I do. I feel a very strong calling of my own conscience, and my conscience calls me to God. That is.
For those that might not be aware, Shabana's previous role was like the equivalent to Pam Bondi as the head of the UK Justice Minister. And she actually addressed the British people and told millions of them that they are far-right racist bigots for opposing mass immigration.
Holding the English flag most of the time down my neck of the woods will be the EDL, and they are white and they are male and they're bad people and they want to divide our communities from one another.
Some of you might recall that back in January of 2025, it was this woman who had solidified this two-tiered justice system by signing off on new rules for the probation service to prioritize ethnic minorities, women, and trans-identified individuals over, presumably, straight white males. And part of the reason for doing this was to tackle the overcrowding in the prison system. Here she is talking about how they're almost at capacity.
We're on the point of collapse. There is no other way of putting it. What is worse, the previous government knew that this would happen. The male prison estate is now running at over 99% capacity. It has been at around that level for 18 months. With officers unable to act, criminals could do whatever they want without consequence. We could see looters running amok, smashing in windows, robbing shops, and setting neighbourhoods alight. In short, if we fail to act now, we face the collapse of the criminal justice system. So today I am announcing that government has no option but to introduce a temporary change in the law. Those serving eligible standard determinate sentences will leave prison after serving 40% rather than 50% in custody. I do not take this decision lightly. I fully understand there is risk attached with doing so. But to disguise reality and delay further, like my predecessors did, is unconscionable and will lead to disaster.
I wonder why, considering they're locking up people for social media posts. So the solution that they've come up with is to release the rapists and the pedophiles, as well as some of the terrorists, which they are actively doing right now, such as this one.
Beyond ludicrous that you could talk to a guy who boasted, by the way, boasted to the US authorities that he was proud to be a terrorist. He didn't move away from that position. The idea that anybody could wish him well for the future. I fear for the people of Batley. Here's the guy. By the way, the US authorities say that he's not even taking the antipsychotic drugs, which are the reason why that he's finally being let out, right? So I know this QC vaguely. I only know him because I was at Leveson and he was cross-examining me. All he is a clerk. These guys who move up to the High Court, they are like, what are they like? They're like academics who've wandered into the legal world. And there was nothing about him. He has no touchstones with humanity, that guy. All he is literally a robot that happened to read out questions to me, asking whether I was an offensive piece of tabloid turd. And I agreed, yeah, I probably was. And we all agreed to move on. So, you know, the truth about the matter is we have a justice system in our country which doesn't reflect either what people think or what sentences should be passed down. So the issue I have is, why don't we just employ the American system? Why don't we make it vaguely political so that we wouldn't have a judge who would, from the right, who would ever say anything like this? Only some liberal dimwit would ever say anything like all the best. And other aspects of what he said included, keep taking the medication, won't you? Well, actually, if he'd read the evidence, he'd already know that actually he wasn't taking the medication because it, quotes, made him feel sleepy. This is a man who was proud of the fact that, in fact, his connections led to a load of people dying. I find it, all I think it does do is reflect on what kind of people are in the upper reaches of our judicial system today, and do they actually represent anybody?
Like a lot of practicing Muslims, my faith is the most important thing in my life. It is the absolute driver of everything that I do.
And then there's the Pakistani grooming gang scandal. For years, organized gangs, mostly of Pakistani descent, targeted vulnerable girls in cities like Rotterdam and Birmingham, and authorities often looked the other way to avoid racism. Of course she had to have known about it. Mahmoud's now overseeing the national inquiry into this horror. But when you look at this appointment, whether fair or not, the perception is that her leadership will be compromised. Many are arguing that her background as a Pakistani origin Muslim MP could cloud perceptions of impartiality. Her past push for lighter sentencing guidelines doesn't inspire confidence she'll deliver the tough justice victims' families demand. Meanwhile, we've got Harry prancing around at charity events, reminding everyone of a system where privilege seems to shield the powerful, royal or otherwise, while justice for grooming gang victims feels elusive. So you're probably wondering, why is this American talking about this? Well, to some degree, this does affect America because of this so-called special relationship and the Five Eyes intelligence. I agree with Laura Loomer here. After seeing how there is this two-tiered justice system in favor and putting Islam at the forefront of everything that she does, I don't feel too comfortable with that, especially since she is in control of MI5, the United Kingdom's domestic counterintelligence and security agency. And now the Starmer government is toying with the idea of digital IDs to combat immigration. Somehow I feel like that was the plan this whole entire time. And who would be in favor and in charge of this? Well, that would be Shabana Mahmood.
Digital ID in future in order to one of the reasons to be to tackle migration?
Well, look, my long-term personal political view has always been in favour of ID cards. In fact, I supported the last Labour government's introduction of ID cards. The first bill I spoke on in Parliament was the ID cards bill, which the then Conservative Lib Dem coalition scrapped. So I have a long-standing position, which anybody who's familiar with my
because it wasn't in the manifesto, was that a mistake?
Well, I have a long-standing position of my own, which those who are familiar with my political track record will know that is something that I've always supported. And look, my other colleagues in government have started this conversation about how we might roll out more digital ID. As Home Secretary, I'm very clear we do have to deal with the pull factors that are making the UK a destination of choice for those that are on the move around the world. And I want to make sure that we can clamp down on that. I think that a system of digital ID can also help with illegal working, enforcement of other laws as well. So there is a broader piece of work here to be done by government, but I do think that that has a role to play for dealing with our migration system as well.
Forgive me, could we be in a situation where everybody would be compelled to have a digital ID at some point?
Well, the government's position at the moment is to look at digital ID, further rollout. I'll obviously be discussing that with my colleagues, some of whom are also, like me, new to the role, but we will be setting out our plans in the very near future about how we want to deal with the pull factors. The Prime Minister has also been clear. We have got to deal not just with disrupting the trade in people that is bringing people across the Channel, but we've also got to deal with some of the reasons why they're getting in the boat in the first place, looking to come to the UK.
This is planned for Great Britain now, and the rest of the world is in the crosshairs as well.
This is your wake-up call. The British government is pushing forward with plans for a national digital ID system. They've called it the Brit card. And if that name doesn't send a chill down your spine, you have not been paying attention. It isn't just about proving who you are online. That all sounds rather lovely. This is about building a centralised, state-controlled digital identity system that could be used, will be used, to link your finances, your medical history, your travel movements, your social media activity, even your social activity in real life and more. It's quite frankly a digital dog tag. And once it's clipped around your neck, you will not be able to take it off. So let's start with the basics. What is this Brit card? According to leaked briefings and government statements, and frankly, any of us who've been paying attention knew this was coming, the Brit card is going to act as a unified digital identification that every British citizen can use to access public services to prove their identity. And eventually, though they won't say this part out loud, link with your banking, your health, and your travel movements.
So let's connect all of this together. A royal family that's divided and weakened, parading its dysfunction on the world stage. Then you have a government that's deliberately collapsing its own systems under Labour, handing power to people who weaken borders, weaken justice, weaken trust with allies. A mainstream media that acts as the PR department of the state, telling you what to think, what to feel, and what to ignore. None of this is an accident. None of this is incompetence. It's all by design. It's all about control. It's all about power. It's about pushing the Agenda 2030 framework where sovereign nations are dismantled, borders erased, and free people reduced to obedient subjects.
If your government is allowed to torture people and lock them up indefinitely without charging them, how long before they do that to you? We don't do that here. And I know it's very common in the UK now, which is an authoritarian country. We don't want that here.
Such a fraud.